Call to order the regular Building Board of Appeals for December 19th, 2024. Is that an echo in there? Where's that from?
It's from up there. No, I'm only kidding.
She's got the amp on reverberate.
All right, we can call to order, or a roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
Okay, Board Member Paul Darling,
Here.
Board Member Robert Hart,
Here.
Board Member Hugh Flack,
Here?
Board Member Kevin Cox, Board Member David Arnsdorf, Staff Mike Lemieux,
Present.
and Mike Redmond,
Present.
and Juliette Harvey is present.
Okay, we have a quorum of 3. So that means to have a majority, we need to have 2 positive votes. Is that correct? Okay. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the October 17th meeting. Any comments on those?
Nope.
A motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are passed. The next item on the agenda is appeals, actions, and show cause hearing. We have one appeal today, and it's at BBA 24007, appeal at 1201 Island Drive, 202, Ann Arbor, Michigan. So if the applicant is here, you can come up and state your name and sign in, and I'll tell you a little bit about the process.
Hi, my name is Scott Hart, and I applied.
Okay. So what we'll have is we'll have the staff make his report of the summary, and then you can present your case or your summary, brief summary, what you're asking for, and then the staff will see if you have any rebuttal of that or any clarification of that, and then the board will ask you questions, and then we'll make a motion and vote up or down for the process, so.
Okay.
Matt?
So the property at 1201 Island Drive, it's a multifamily building. It's an R2. The building was constructed in 1964. Recently, a plumbing permit was applied for as a residential project. This was denied because it was the wrong work class, and a commercial plumbing permit was applied for and issued for work described as a laundry box install. At the application of this permit, it was indicated that this is a commercial application, and the contractor should have proceeded using code requirements for this building type, R2. The plumbing inspector failed the rough inspection because it did not meet the minimum standards of the applicable code, which is the 2021 Michigan Plumbing Code. A code-compliant alternative was offered to the contractor, which was to remove the standpipe and drain the washer into a laundry sink. Information on what fixtures were connected to this line on the lower floors was requested but not provided as of 12/13/2014. Staff recommends this application be denied as it doesn't meet the standards for approval. Building and residential codes are standards established for specific building types. The residential code only applies to R3 single-family duplexes and townhouses, which is clearly stated in the 2015 Michigan Residential Code. 1201 Island Drive is not R3 per the building code. It's not single-family residence, a duplex, or a townhouse. Therefore, the 2015 Michigan MRC is not intended to be applied to this building. 1201 Island Drive must meet the provisions of the MBC, Chapter 29, which directs us to the Michigan Plumbing Code. The appeal for this application of Section P3004 in a commercial building in place of the 2021 Michigan Plumbing Code, Sections 406.2. No information was provided on the impact on the rest of the plumbing system. The applicant also indicated the association has approved the installation of washers and dryers, which, if this appeal is approved, could have compounded negative effects on the plumbing system's capability to function as necessary and safe in a sanitary manner. The MBC and MPC provide specific prescriptive measures based on the considerations for all of the buildings types. Residential buildings like 1201 Island Drive are classified R2. If the intent of the code were to allow the MRC requirements to be applied, it would be their same requirement in both codes. Also, if the intent of the code was to treat R2 differently than other uses in the Michigan Plumbing Code, there would be an exception listed identifying R2 buildings. The recommendation for denial is for several reasons. 1201 Island Drive Unit 202 is properly classified as R2. The building department has required the proper permit work class for a commercial building. The plumbing inspector evaluated the project using the appropriate code for an R2 building. Finally, there is nothing provided that demonstrates the impact of this installation on the plumbing system as a whole, or at best is an assumption this will function properly for Unit 202, and no consideration for potential impacts on the other units downstream in this building.
Okay, thank you. So you can state your case, so if you're asking for appeal for.
Yeah. Oh, is it my
Yeah, you
turn?
can go ahead. Usually what we ask for is you state if the code doesn't apply, if you're providing something better than the code, those are the provisions that we're allowed to grant a variance for.
Okay, so I will, guess, I was like, I'm confused about, it was, this, process, and I'll be honest. When I happened to talk to Larry Kraft, the plumbing inspector, and he's the one that actually mentioned, I should, actually possibly, go to with the appeals committee because. Here's the case. The HOA, is approving a certain, appliance. It is not a standard residential, normal washing machine. It is actually ventless, ductless. It is, high energy low energy and high efficiency. Actually, the consumption of the water and the soap, and the electricity is low. It takes hours for just a small load to be done. It is only two. The one in the client that is going to be going is only 2.4 cubic feet. It is small. And if you've seen these units, they are small units. It'll be going in a bathroom where there's a sink right there for brushing teeth. This is what I explained, over to Larry Kraft, and we were in agreement, but I understand, he has to follow a code that it's written. It's just. The alternative that he gave me was. There is a box in the wall that we're going to discharge that washing machine. That would you have to connect to a 3-inch actually pipe. There isn't a 3-inch actually pipe. Around the area, I would have to go downstairs, in a lower unit, open up walls and whatnot in order to get to that. Which I get it. Except the alternative that was given, what was we take out the, his sink, when we put in like a nice laundry sink, that has a nice, actually faucet and a bowl and whatever. Well, then, that washing machine will just it will discharge, into the, his sink. Well, it's the, same, amount of water being, discharged. It's not, it isn't increasing. It's the, it's the same amount of water. It's just, it's going into a different, style, drain. And, I get that I am not actually fighting actually the plumbing code. I'm not looking for that. I was under the impression that we could actually get an exception maybe. Then if anybody else wanted to do the same thing. Then we make it, known that you go through, an appeals process. We show up, we explain our case, and, it'll be precedent for, the rest of the, I get it. I was, kind of confused about the process until I read the, the summary that you just read. And I was, emailed a copy of that, like, a few hours ago, and I read it, and I was like, no, I'm not actually fighting the plumbing code. I'm not. It's just, a real world exception that actually makes, sense. That's what I'm, going for. And, if, that is, not, this. That's the, then I, get it, it cost me $500 and it's a learning experience, and then, yeah, so, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Rebuttal on the staff?
Yeah, I was just going to say that through the code, the board has 3 ways to approve anything that's presented here. It's if the code was misinterpreted, what's being presented is better than or equal to the code, or that it doesn't apply. So I would just say, in this case, it seems like you're trying to present that what you have there is equal to or better than code.
Well, yes, it's like, am I okay to talk to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Well, it's like, it is, equal to but it's just, realistically, there's, an appliance, it's a box, it's on the ground, and I put, the laundry, discharge, actually behind it. For aesthetics, like it's in order to keep, things, out of the way, instead of, having a hose, into a sink. If it's a house or you have a commercial building or anything else, I'm not gonna, plumb that in that way. I'm not. It's just, you have these small units, and the HOA is, an approved, a certain unit, and it is small, it is ductless. I know, that, the fire marshals here, it isn't using a lot of power. It's essentially just rinsing some clothes and then air drying. It's nothing. No, it's not nothing. I get it. It just, it's a real world application. The HOA, they have obviously. Also put some thought, into as well, And well, that's why, well, they approved it, you know, and it's, yeah, you know, I believe it's in, well, the attachment that I, you know, submitted as well, without, that they're unable to go like over that, you know, a certain amount of cubic feet and whatnot. Okay.
Does the board have questions for that?
Yes. First of all, by way of disclosure, I'm not related to Hart Plumbing. So,
Well, darn, I wish I could have got a vote off that.
are all the spaces in the condo complex the same that are being converted? I mean, were they like powder rooms or closets or?
Well, you know, it's a bathroom, so most of the units, you know, are exactly the, you know, I'm saying, it's a small, unit has, you know, a kitchen, you know, a family room, you know, a bedroom and a bathroom. And well, the bathroom is a little like, you know, oversized, where there's this like, you know, a blank space next to the, you know, a sink where well, they could put like a shelf actually for towels, and well, that's where we're putting it.
Does that bathroom have a toilet in it?
Yes.
Is the toilet connected to that same plumbing arrangement?
Yes.
So I guess where I got a little bit confused in the package was that the plumbing inspector was offering a code path to somehow make this work. And it had to do with having a vacuum break from the fixture to the drainage point, but it also had a maximum calculation of DFUs per 8 feet of drainage length. So is that 8 feet within the run out in the space itself? In other words, if you look at the picture, there's a pipe that will obviously connect the sink and the washing machine. And is that pipe also connecting? It's probably not connecting the toilet, right? The toilet has its own stack? Probably does, because it's a 4-inch.
Yeah, you know, I can, you know, answer.
Okay.
Yes, it's on the, you know, same, you know, a drain, you know, a system. Mm-hmm. It's what just, you know, how we were able to, you know, access it. While as we were connecting, you know, to the in-wall pipe. Mm-hmm. Which is, you know, and it's a 2-inch actually pipe in there. Mm-hmm. You know, and in residential, you know, code, well, this, you know, actually passes from what I was, you know, doing. And, you know, and even Larry attested that, and he goes, yes, you know, I get it, but we're in, you know, I mean, commercial because of, you know, what dwellings. The only reason you know, it isn't passing is because, you know, well, the pipe, well, that we are connecting to, well, you know, for a commercial code, wants it to be, you know, a 3-inch instead of a 2-inch. Yeah, you know, in order to, for me, to do that, we would, you know, have to go to the unit below, you know, open up, you know, their wall in order to access, you know, that, you know, owners to actually pipe. Where there is a 3-inch actually pipe, you know, I'm near the ground, you know, the first level. Well, that would you increase and bring it up? Well, that's where the problem lies in. We would, you know, have to go, you know, into another person's residence, and you know, do that work. So, well, that's where the exception kind of came. I was, you know, asking for, but yes.
Not very practical as far as.
No, it's not. You know, it's a real world, like, you know, application is what, you know, I'm not. Well, again, you know, I'm not expecting. You know, this to become an issue with the HOA. You know, and you know, I can even explain it to the HOA that like, everybody on a, a second floor unit now will like, have to file, the appeals, claim, and we'll have to go through this, process, and that may or may not actually pass. But we're gonna be able to do this, prior to doing the work, I would, think, rather than us we'll do the work, it actually fails, and then we go through the process, if that makes sense.
So,
Well, yes, it is within that.
no, well, I still
that-
don't understand what
Okay.
the plumbing inspector was offering up as an alternative solution, because you've got a washing machine and you've got a sink, and the total was 3 DFUs. And the toilet in that space doesn't contribute to the load. Is that true?
Well, that is, correct on, that, on branch line, yes.
It does not.
No, it does not.
Okay.
Well, no, to that, a branch line. So, to that one, branch line that, has the, sink on it. Yes.
Okay, so that 8-foot length of drainage pipe that has to handle the washing machine and the sink is 2 inches. Yes? And it's allowed a maximum of 6. So I guess I'm not understanding why it's a problem, because they're within the calculated amount for that length of 8-foot drainage pipe.
What can I ask? What can I answer that? Well, the only reason it's, not, actually being allowed is, because, it's in a book, it's, code. Like,
Well, no, that's a big deal.
No,
That's the
no,
crux of the problem.
no, I get it.
But just a second, because what I'm trying to get at is, I don't know that I understand. I mean, I think the plumbing inspector offered a fix or a code path to make this work. What I don't understand is why how he's coming up with the calculation or the methodology, because he's talking about a pipe size of a minimum pipe run, of 8 feet that can still be 2 inches, that still can carry the DFU requirements, and why he's worried about what's happening on the floor below, because it would seem to me that that's not coming into the calculation, unless I may not really be understanding what the issue is there. I'm sort of putting that to the building department, yeah.
There we go. So from what the inspector stated, I think that his concern is additional unknowns of the plumbing system. To sort of put it in like a nutshell, is we don't know what else is going into this line. The only thing that was opened up was the stuff on the bathroom side of this one unit. So I think that is part of the inspector's concern.
So the way the drawing looks, you've got the washing machine going into one service that hits the stack. It looks like the sink is actually a separate drain that goes to the stack. And then you've got the toilet somewhere that gets to the stack. And is there anybody up above you?
Well, no, there's only like, 2. And I spoke, to Larry Kraft, it isn't having a concern. Actually, the alternative where he asked, well, hey, why don't you dump it into the sink? It's fine. It's still, the wall, yes, so yes, where the discharge is still, going, to the, same location, the, same stack. It's just actually via a different, I think, actually method, which, which, is, a box in the wall, which is, which is, it is like, pretty, and a hose and a sink, which is not pretty. I get it.
Well, I mean, the way I understood it is that by discharging into the sink, there's a bigger vessel to hold the water, to slow the drainage impact.
The sink could be a drain in the bottom, but that's,
well-
maybe closed.
Well,
And we're not talking a vanity sink either, we're talking.
well, no, it'd be a laundry sink, so I mean, there are multiple problems here. One is the code is the code. I mean, the building's classified as an R2
Yeah.
commercial residential building, and that's it. There's nothing we can do to change that.
Yes.
And
no, I
that
agree.
comes with its own code requirements. The other problem is, there's nothing in, for example, even if we were to consider the unit that the appliance that you're talking about putting in as being a special low-flow thing, there's nothing in the HOA letter that says you have to use this type of appliance and this one only. Wait, just a sec.
Okay.
And whatever happens here or in the future is going to set the stage for all the buildings and all the units going forward. So I guess where I'm going with this is, if the plumbing inspector offered an alternative arrangement, forget the aesthetics, but just offered a different arrangement that would work, and what's being requested is some kind of a schematic that just shows what the plumbing configuration is from the second floor to the first floor, it seems like a way around all of this that isn't going to, produce a lot of distress and heartburn throughout the condominium, and get you over the hump in terms of being able to get the work done according to code.
If you find a first floor that wants a washer and dryer installed, you're going to open up the walls, you understand what's going on in there, because they're probably all built the same,
Yes, well, they are.
That's, by the way, excuse me, that's the other thing. That's assuming that what you're doing in that particular unit is replicated across the entire complex.
It may be, may not be, but it's
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Well, that's where I disagree with what you said about the HOA, and they don't, have a set thing. They do, and I have a document that said, you can, only use, this cubic feet.
Do we have that?
It's in the back, yeah.
Is it in the back?
Right here.
So they're not, going, I'm rogue here. They have the actual their.
Yeah.
Well, their approvals. Now, obviously, if we were on, the first, floor with all these, I wouldn't even need to be here, because, it would be approved. It's just, so actually, my impression of this, appeals meeting was, there is some, exceptions in real world, applications. I am not, here to fight, for the plumbing code. I'm a master plumber. I love plumbing code, and I will follow it. It's just, this real world, application is especially with an appliance, that that didn't have, anything to do with that, code. Like it's, a different appliance. well, I'm sure, well, there will be an exception, in the plumbing code, in the future, but, at this point, well, there is not, so. So, yeah, I understand, I appreciate your time, and, if, well, there's a way to get that done, if not, I will rest my case.
If the gray box was called a utility sink, you'd be all set, because you're dumping in a utility sink, right?
Yeah, and, and it is, well, like, yeah, I can't really, say anything else. I think you guys are familiar with what I actually put in. And, well, the HOA, had a lot of, thought in this. Well, they reached out to me, like, in, some capacity. And, I actually may have, overstated, like, actually my boundaries with, one with them and all their approvals. But, they're just looking to enhance, their properties without, having, anything actually bulky, and, well, that's what, it is right now.
So if we, if you could draw, or have somebody draw what the riser diagram of the building existing is, and how you were modifying it, that would explain, maybe answer the plumbing official's response of what's the floor going below, what's impacting it, And that maybe be your compliance path.
And to make sure that the appropriate code is what's being followed. Yeah.
I don't know who could physically do that. I mean, you could draw up the riser diagram, familiar with how it's plumbed downstairs, and say, here's the,
Yeah.
or have an engineer do that for you, and, we can table this, and then you submit that, and then that would, say what we need to get a variance and.
Well, and, I don't think we could without, like, opening up those walls,
Yeah.
because
I think it's
then you're just, guessing, and.
You can find one person on the first floor, it doesn't have to be the unit directly below you,
Yeah.
it could be adjacent building, you could say, here's how
but
it
they're actually, well, yeah, I could, find a rear remodel, and maybe they're, doing a remodel, and they have the walls open, but.
Anybody that's, do a survey, say, anybody's gonna put one on the first floor, will want to survey it, so we can get these second floor units.
Yeah. Yeah, and, well, that's something I would love to talk to the HOA
Yeah,
about,
they would
too,
maybe help you
because,
there,
because I will know they're gonna, have this, happen again, because,
Yeah.
they're remodeling, they wanna, upgrade.
Yeah, there's
Well,
like
well,
15 buildings here. It applies to like 15 different buildings, the complex?
15 units all the same
I
style.
think it's only 6, right?
Oh, 10?
Oh, is
I
it more
was
than
guessing
that?
because of.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were at
and, well,
1201,
there's
but it
only,
went to
2
1215,
stories, so,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
well, not like it's a high rise, I get it.
Yeah. The original construction drawings, they have those. I mean, that would tell you also how the plumbing layout as well. I mean,
Yes.
there's other paths of what the riser diagram is, that would answer his question, what's below.
Yeah, when, well, and like, I don't even know, like, how to obtain those, so, I don't know.
So,
The,
Michael.
just to answer the question about the drawings, anything that's available is available through Track It, Stream, or OnBase. So there's the OnBase is sort of all the older files that the city still has records of. So typically you'd go in there and search by the address, and anything that's there would be
Okay.
available.
Thank you.
I mean, they may help you, maybe you got a 50-50 chance of being there, I don't know, hard to say, but maybe it'd be one path in trying to find what the drawing was, and then you wouldn't hire an engineer, you'd have the drawing, what the
Yeah.
riser diagram is.
Yeah, well, so I, guess where we're at is, well, we obviously already actually performed all the work, and, well, there is even a tenant, and they temporarily put the, sink back, and it's like usable, and nothing is, happening. But we do want to cover back up, and we want to paint, we want to get all that, done for that tenant. So, if we were to, delay this, where I guess you find plans and submit plans, I mean, I don't know, how long that, takes. I don't know, so.
Michael, is there a way, if you go to page 14 in the booklet, where Larry offers a code path, is there a way to get him to, before you go ahead and do all of this stuff, just kind of get him to spell out a little more clearly what it is that he's looking for in terms of the total DFUs that might be on a line? Because again, he's referencing, that you can only, a 2-inch stack can only receive 6 DFUs in a one branch interval. Every 8 feet of pipe is considered a branch interval. So are we talking about that horizontal run within the unit is 8 feet, or the total horizontal and vertical run of 8 feet? I mean, because it seems to me that it's probably connecting to a larger pipe. But if the concern is that there's going to be a problem on the lower level, I think he could offer a little bit more guidance or interpretation to what it is that he's actually looking for in order to bring that to some kind of resolution for these guys.
And I'd have to look into it further, but and maybe is the reference made to that configuration, is that residential code or commercial code?
Well, as far as with the DFUs and the branch line, as well, they are actually both with the same. So where this actually becomes an issue is the the vertical pipe, this branch line is is connecting to on a T or a Y, so where it drops one down. On a commercial code, they want that from a vertical to be 3-inch. On a residential, it does not matter if it's on the first floor, then on the second floor. It can be either floor. But on a on the residential, they want that vertical to be 2-inch, at a minimum, and the commercial, they want that 3 inches a minimum. So, I've seen stacks where, once it comes down to the ground, it'll increase right there at I'm in a clean out or a plug that you're able to clean out. So in all likelihood, that's where I understand, if there's, a vacant unit or as-built or something like that, shows what there's that, 3-inch on the ground. I mean.
So if the 3 inches at the first floor, you're okay. But if they want
no,
it to be 3
because
inches
they
at the
want
riser,
the tie-in B3. So I would still have to go, into that about
Replace that
a
piece of
lower
riser.
unit, cut the drywall out,
Yeah.
and increase it from that Gacy base and go up to
Fully
3-inch.
compliant with that residential
So.
code, yeah.
Yeah, so it is the real world application of do we evade that space of that somebody else owns, and that opens up a can of worms, or do we do with the real world application? That's where we're at. The alternative, I understand what Larry, and I were in agreement, that it isn't going to affect, actually the plumbing. It's just for the code, and you can't pass it, and I get it. And that's why I thought, the appeals, and that's what, he even mentioned what to me was, about, the Board of Appeals, actually, hey, you should, ride on this. He's, seen, other things, go through here, shame on me. I probably should have, asked you more questions or called, but, I just, actually filed, an application and, attached a few things and said, okay, cool, I can get an exception from you guys, but,
And
I get that is not the case.
as part of the inspection, when we fail an inspection, typically we'll let people know of their right to appeal the decision to the board.
Okay.
just because it is written in code that that's an option that, permit holders have.
Well, and I don't get that, but Larry and I wish he was on here, but like, I mean, I'm not gonna, throw him under the bus. He's a great inspector. But like, we were like, no, I get it. Like, so the alternative is, that you tie that, same thing and you dump it, into a, sink. It's the, same
So
load.
it's this-
It's the, same, discharge.
That has to
It's
be 3
not,
inches.
doing anything,
Differently,
increasing it
Yeah.
or actually making it where it's,
It's not a safety issue, it's basically a level of the law issue, is what it sounds like.
well, correct. In then actually, my mind, it is worse, in a real world application. Because what if that, a sink, somebody, throws, a plate in it and, it covers it up, it can't, drain, it's
Overflows, yeah.
overflowed. At least in a box, it's, it can't be like, altered or, tampered or.
It looks like a bigger
Behind the unit, it's less accessible.
Yeah, it's there. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
so yes, it's a real world, application. I would love to get it actually passed or exception, but I get one now after reading the reading that I'm not here to change with the code. I really am, and that's and it wasn't actually with the intention. So, okay.
So it doesn't sound like finding the original drawings is gonna help you, because you probably already believe that the riser downstairs is already 2 inches, because you see it going down as 2 inches.
Well, yeah, with the vertical, but,
Yeah, the vertical.
at some point, it'll
Go to
tie,
3.
to 3,
Yeah.
and it's usually at, the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, above, ground, you cut it off, you increase it, and you
Yeah.
go.
But the code is requiring that all the way from the second floor fixture down to that point being a 3-inch line, not a 2-inch line.
Yes. Well, correct. In a commercial code, that, a vertical wants it to be, 3. In a residential, it can be 2.
Yeah.
But, that's where I was, like, hoping originally, and, how I, presented it, like, over to Larry. That's, the only snippet, I added in with the beginning of my application was originally, I applied for it, and then we started the work, and then we got the call, no, like, this isn't residential, it's commercial, and then at that point, like, we already had the walls up, and we were going, so. Yeah, I get it, and that isn't the process. I get that too.
Is there anything that we had done this in the past where if they're concerned about how it physically functions, that we physically test it, run enough water through it or something else like that, that commissions the process of that, it's the limited number of fixtures on it? What is the difference between the commercial code and residential code, which why would be allowed in one and not the other? For fixture count, height of building, nothing fixtures above it, what?
All of that.
So we could go through and look at the residential code and say, well, there's no fixtures above this. It's applicable for when it's only 1 story or nothing above,
And I would just say that the residential code is never, it isn't acceptable in a commercial structure. The building code and the plumbing code are the ones that apply to that structure.
So at some point, the code must have changed, because if there's a 2-inch stack there now,
Yeah, that's possible.
do they have any recourse by going through the existing building?
I think you would get back to if something's changed, the portion that's changed needs to be in compliance. If they weren't changing something, if they're replacing a sink, we would never require them to upgrade the rest of the plumbing. If they were replacing the toilet, we wouldn't require that.
Yeah.
When they add a fixture, it's a different, I see the code applying differently if they're adding something to the system.
They could take the sink out and put the washer in there?
That's what I was just going to ask.
Save balance of fixtures?
Well,
But
that's
then they wouldn't have a
essentially
sink in their bathroom.
that's essentially what Larry is, offering as a workaround. is that, I mean, it's a, a sink, and you just, discharge your washer to it, and, he's able to pass it, well, because, it's like a regular, a sink, and there's like, an air gap or an air break, air break there, and like, you can, dump whatever you want into it. So,
But how does that?
that is, the
but that-
workaround.
See, that's the part I'm having trouble with. How does that change the requirement for the size of the stack? You're still stuck with a 3-inch stack requirement, aren't you?
But it's existing though, but, yeah.
Well, because it's a sink.
So
That's what it is.
I think-
And, in with a code, like you're able to discharge a washer, to a sink.
I think it's,
That's the only workaround. It's not a great, explanation for your question, but that.
It's no explanation for my question.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean,
And that's something we'd, have to talk to the plumbing board about, because, I don't see, I don't see, what the difference, like you're just, taking the discharge and putting it, somewhere else.
So let's.
All of a sudden it passes.
Let's, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but let's just take this one more time. So if they take out the vanity sink and they put in a laundry sink and they discharge the washer into the laundry sink,
Okay.
that takes care of
Yeah,
the-
code compliance.
a code compliance, but they're still stuck with the 3-inch stack requirement, but that's okay.
and yeah, it's
That-
written in the
that's-
code that it's allowable.
But he still wants to know, just as a point of information,
Well, he wants
how
not
many,
not to dump the sink in, he'd rather have it dumped in the back, so you don't see this unsightly thing dumped into a utility,
but that,
You know.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but that's a workaround without having to rip out the entire ground floor walls and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and I think that that's presented in Larry's, if I'm correct, that's presented in Larry's notes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what, he presented, as a workaround.
But he still, even so, he still says he wants to know how many fixtures are tying in to the stack. I mean, he says so in the,
Well, correct, and when I spoke to him, in regards, we didn't, have a conversation about, actually the DFUs. We just, get it, it would work, it would actually, function, but I can't pass it.
okay, so, one more time. If a laundry-type sink, a tub, washer discharge into the tub is an acceptable workaround, then it would seem to me that you have an alternative solution. And what you would have to do is go back to the HOA and tell them, this is the only way that this will work without having to rip apart everything in the complex to make it code compliant, because you're stuck with an R2 building classification. But I would still expect that there should be some kind of a more detailed conversation between you and the building department, Larry and Michael, to make sure that this is exactly going to be fine, and that and his other requirements for wanting to know what's going on the lower levels doesn't really apply. That's what I'm understanding from all of this.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yes.
So only the second floors would require it.
No, well, yes, well, that is the whole,
Right.
well, that's the whole point.
Good
Well,
point.
Like you're exactly right. So, in order to get, everything, compliant above, like, are we having to rip, everything out, up below? And,
Well,
I mean, it is, in a real world,
I mean-
thing that I'm going to get involved in.
I think the question is, this is maybe more for the HOA, is what's more important to them? Allowing their tenants or their owners to have washing machines, or a matter of sink aesthetics? Because in the real practical world,
I get
if you
it.
can look the other way.
No, well, I get it, and
know.
well, this is what I started like, an hour ago or whatever. Yeah, I didn't really understand this process. I thought we were able to get, exceptions in here where we could apply, to the HOA or whatever for the second floor units or whatever. And we do it on a case by case and make sure everything lines up with the appliance, but that is not how I read the GOMIS summary. I am not wanting, I am not wanting in order to change on the plumbing code. It's just, are we able to, have a real world exception? Well, that's where I thought, actually the appeals process was gonna help, and maybe it does, please, I don't know.
Okay, well, all things considered, I think there's a viable alternative solution for you. But I also think that it requires making sure that you guys, you, the HOA, and the city are all on the same page. So I'm going to propose that we table this until that conversation, or those conversations happen, so that everybody's crystal clear about what the alternative is and that it's acceptable, because you've got a bunch of other units that could be facing the same issue. And I don't think you nor we want to go through this
Do it once.
more than one time.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm enjoying this conversation.
But I would
didn't.
suggest when you talk to the HOA that you list the 3 things that we're allowed to change and why we're stuck, because we can't seem to, there's no other other option that we can squeeze in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get it. I'm just I'm a crossroad with you. I'm a client at this point because we want to wrap it up and we want to get them back to normal, but we can't. And I thought the exception would the appeals would grant something on real world so we could actually move past it. And we'll then have the conversation, I don't know, in the future, or with the HOA, like whatever. So
Tell
I think
the client, I'll show her the new sink she's just acquired.
there is, I'm a pretty, I'm a laundry room, sinks I can, get, and, it'll work, it'll, suffice. It's just, we're just, actually taking it from a box, like a foot away and putting it into a sink. It's the same, discharge, the same load. It's not effective.
Would you have to rip the other stuff out you put in, or do you just have to discharge it into the sink?
No, it's essentially what,
Can you abandon that cap in, so if you get a variance in the future,
Well, that's what Larry said. Why don't you cut it? And then you're able to cap that, actually box, so it can't be well used, and then just dump it in there, and I'll approve it, and we'll walk past it. But of course, that's not what we wanted, and that's not what I. That isn't what, actually what the client envisioned. It isn't even what actually the HOA was envisioning on these, second floor units, was, actually they wanted to go in the box, for the prettiness.
Although-
And, concealing it, and
Yeah.
I guess you can't, so.
Sometimes a loophole will work to your advantage in the real world, though.
Well, in this case, can it? No.
And I would just say that I think that from what you're saying, the argument then is that you would have a way to demonstrate or prove that your configuration is equal to or better than
That's the path.
the
yeah.
code.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that can be by testing or by whatever method you do is equal to, or how you define equal to or better,
Whatever Larry likes.
And I think that, that would ultimately, based on what they presented, if that was the route that this meeting went, was that it was equivalent or better, and documentation was presented from an engineer or, somebody along those lines stating that, this system as configured works in the same way.
Well, yeah, well, that's a good actually point. As well, there is, a part of, actually with the plumbing, code where like, as where like, engineering will, like, as it can, like, supersede with the plumbing code. I mean.
So a prescriptive path, you're doing a performance path or some other path,
Well, correct, but I don't know, how, like, a detail of, engineering and what that entails, because, I'm not an engineer, so.
On the second floor.
I was just saying that as if you're looking at presenting as equal to or better, that would be an avenue to make that argument.
But that would assume that they're going to, within a stacked arrangement, they're going to have a washing machine on the second floor, the same configuration on the first floor, to do a complete test, because...
And I'm not saying it as
Yeah.
what would be accepted.
Well, no, but I
I'm
mean,
saying
as a
that
practical matter, I mean, if you just do the second floor, the next person that comes in and wants to do it on the floor below, you're going to be back to the same thing. And what if it doesn't work?
And I think that's why it would need to be presented in a holistic manner that addresses the plumbing system.
Okay. So,
You can go ahead and put a laundry sink and close out your permit then. You can keep your variance over by tabling it, and you can work this out for all the other units.
So does he want to have it ruled on today, up, down, or is he okay with it being tabled or postponed? Tabling is when you put it on the table without a date, and then we come back if and when he wants to come back. Postponing is to a date certain. Or he might say, I want to know today, which he has the right to do. So it's kind of up to him on the tabling if he's amenable to that.
Well, so I'm okay with, for the tabling. Well, there is an issue with, well, the plumbing permit, has like, expiration date. I just, got that one notification. Well, that will expire like in, January or something, don't quote me, but so if we do, table this, well, do we close the plumbing permit out? And, how do we do that with actually me going back to a sink?
So without the final inspection, we can't close the plumbing permit
Yeah,
out.
it's-
However, if you send me an email saying the reason that you want to extend your permit,
Okay.
I can extend it for another 90 days based on that.
Okay.
And then we would reevaluate if it needed to be done again.
Well, that would at least allow me what to have a conversation with the owner, and tell them
Yeah,
about everything.
And
that we
the
spoke
code
about.
allows me to do that, just as long as it's in writing.
Okay.
And there's a reason given as to why it needs to be extended.
Well, yeah. Well, then, so to answer your question, well, then yes, I would like to table this, I guess. Then, I'm to see if there's a viable way to get a variance, or an engineer might want to help. Who knows? So let's have a conversation. Unless you want to pass it, like you can do that. So okay.
Motion?
So the motion is to
table it.
table the
Table or
proposal.
postpone? What's the difference? Postpone
Yeah,
is-
table is you don't know when it's coming back or
Okay.
if it's coming back.
Yeah, okay.
Just set it aside.
Okay.
Table. Postpone is like,
Time
we're gonna
it.
take it up on January
Okay.
15th or February 13th or whatever
Okay.
it is.
So I would suggest we table the motion and give the applicant time to work with the plumbing department and to come to an agreeable solution that we can address later or not as needed.
Second?
Does that make sense?
Second?
Oh,
Is
is that a formal
is your
motion?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The appeal is tabled until until we have more information from the applicant.
All right.
Thank you.
No, well, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is old business. I see no old business. Anybody, staff have old business? Anything? No? Next item is new business. Any new business? Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 2:31.